Morning guys, I did say that I'm going to be bringing you a different stock every single day, a completely new stock onto the channel, and tonight our new stock which we are covering is Apex Technology Acquisitions Corp stock. So obviously this is APTX right now, and it's just been announced that this company is going to go in with a merge, and this is with the company Avepoint. So we're going to be talking about what that company does, also where we see the price going into the future, and we're just going to be giving a quick overview of the company, where we see the stock going and all the other important pieces of news. So if that does sound like a good video, please do like and subscribe. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, so if you could do anything to help us, it would be massively appreciated. Share the videos with your friends and family and whatnot. Just help to get the channel to 1,000 as soon as possible. It would be appreciated. On top of that, we do have a Discord server. Feel free to come and join us over there. It's obviously all about stocks. It's a great and fun place to be. We have like 100 members now. Going to start off by having a quick look at the company and the stock price, as we always do. So we're going to start off looking back out to the 6-month period, so we really can see, wow, this company has exploded very recently. So if we look back to July, we did not really see any action. I mean, yes, the stock was slowly moving upwards, to about the point of the 22nd of July. From that point, however, we saw a slow decrease all the way back down to about the 25th of August. From that point, it basically sat still until we saw this small bump in price up to 10.24. This was on the 18th or 17th of September. From then, though, it just went all the way back down to even lower lows of about $10.13, and from there it was very stable. Now, up until recently, we have had it also, staying quite stable, and then we saw this huge increase down here. This looks to be about 39% according to Google, but I probably bet is much higher than that. So, if we have a quick look out to the 1 month period, though, we can really see in context how big of a growth this was. This took us from about 10.15 on only the 20th, and all the way up to on the 27th and 14.20. So obviously quite the increase indeed. That's about $4 in just 7 days. So quite the productive week. Looking closer into the 5-day period, obviously very flat until that day on the 27th, where we saw the increase. So mainly all of this did come from the 1 day, which makes it even more, dramatic and significant. So if we have a quick look, previously we did see only a 10, to 10.50, let's say, price range in the early part of the week. But then on the 27th, we saw this huge explosion. So on the last day that we were trading, which was a Friday, we actually did not see much action, starting off the day on 14.63, ending up the day on 14.19. So obviously a small decrease in price, but I think that's just a lot of the hype, and don't hate me for this one, I think it's just a lot of the hype selling out from that initial increase. So obviously the increase was due to the merger being announced, and of course we all know the pattern with these SPAC stocks by now. If you don't know the pattern, do subscribe, because we cover all kinds of SPAC stocks on the channel. We covered Helion, we covered DPHC, we covered loads of huge SPACs, and we see this pattern quite significantly and quite oftenly. Now, in this case, I think it's going to be a small sell-off. It may already be over, but I definitely can see some huge growth for this company in the short term, simply due to the hype leading up around the merger. We have seen lots of mergers and the hype that comes with those, and I think this is going to be no exception, where we're going to see the merger just, force the price upwards for a few months until the merger does come out. And I think if you're going for a short-term trade, then yes, it's probably as good of a time as ever to buy right now, because if we looked at things like Helion, for example, we saw Helion rally from like $10 up to about $64, but unfortunately, and I think it's important to note this, and yes, I am not a financial advisor, and yes, this is just a pattern from a completely different stock, but it has happened on a lot of stocks. We see the merger go through. Once the merger goes through, there's not really much hype surrounding the company, and it drops down. But for this one, I can see that happening. But that's obviously in the short term. Looking out to the long term, we need to look at where I see this company going, and I think this is potentially going to be a big one. So this company is Avepoint, and obviously Avepoint, I think they do something to do with Microsoft 365, and I'm going to be talking about why that is significant into the future. So of course, we are looking on their direct website here. We can see, they basically do things like migrate, manage, and protect Microsoft 365. So obviously, this is a huge market sector due to the amount of people that simply simply use Microsoft 365. Microsoft 365 is a rather popular platform around the world, and it's basically, if you don't already know, I'm sure you do, because I'm pretty sure everybody knows it, it's one of those professional things that people use in the offices and whatnot, and I think this is definitely going to have an impact on the stock price due to what the company does. I can see this one being, kind of a decently priced stock in the future. Obviously, we'll leave it till another episode to do a forecast for the stock, but I definitely see this one being a decently priced one in the future, simply due to the amount of people who are using, Microsoft 365. I think an also significant thing to note is the fact that due to what has happened this year, a lot of offices can't really afford to send their workers back in, and I think a lot of offices just see the, convenience of trading online and whatnot, so I think a lot of people will be using Office 365 a lot more rather than going into the office. I think subsequently that will have an impact on this stock, forcing it up to a higher price than maybe where it would have sat at, a few months ago if it wasn't due to what has happened this year. So looking at this from a buy rating, would I buy it right now? I would definitely be cautious to buy it right now, but not necessarily apprehensive. I would definitely wait to see what happens in the next 2 or 3 days, but whatever happens, I definitely see this stock coming down after the merger. I think it's 100% possible, going on patterns which I have seen before. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It definitely depends how much hype does get into the stock. We have seen certain mergers where not too much hype got into the stock, and subsequently the dip was not as big. But do bear in mind, a lot of people will be holding this one in their thoughts, knowing that the merger is going through, and subsequently they will be taking a bet on this one, what we call a swing trade for only a few months, and then when the mergers go through, they will be pulling out with a huge profit. But yeah, looking for the long term, I definitely see this company being a potential success due to the fact they are operating on one of the world's biggest, online, I don't even know what to call it, spreadsheet companies, let's say. They're operating with Microsoft, and it's just a big platform which a lot of people use, and there's always going to be a market for something like that. I mean, obviously, yes, there are competitors to Microsoft 365, like Google Docs and things like that, but let's face it, no other system is as widely used as the Microsoft system, because, Microsoft make Windows 10, subsequently you get 365 and things like that with that, but you can just see the effect this is going to have when this company does go public. So yeah, just to conclude, I see a lot of hype coming up towards a merger, and I think this can definitely be a good period to get in. But once we do get to a high price, we definitely need to look at ourselves and think, is this too high to get in? Right now, like I said, not too much hype in the company, so potentially not a problem. But I will keep updating you as the merger does go through and whatnot. So I hope that sounds like a good idea. So if it does, please do subscribe. Like I said, we're trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber milestone. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye until then.